Yo, yo. What's up, everybody? Are we live? Yes, we are live. And look how orange I look. It's so bright. What the heck's going on here? 1 second. Huh, that doesn't really help. There's definitely something that's making me look super orange, but it's okay. We'll fix it in the future. Can you guys hear me okay? Let me know in the comments because I need to know. How's everyone doing? TGIF. I am back in New York. I was in California for about 3 weeks. So that was really good. And it's super crazy to me because, oh my God, I kid you not, every time I go outside of New York, I feel like I discover something new. So when I was in France, I discovered Twitter and the importance of Twitter and being able to just talk on Twitter spaces. I met so many good people there, and that really opened my kind of like social group of developers into the Twitter space. And then after I got into California, I didn't have my YouTube studio, so I couldn't make YouTube content. So I started messing around with TikTok, and apparently there's another group of people, or specifically developers in the TikTok community. So they opened their arms to me, and like I joined their Discord group, and we're just kind of like chilling and bouncing off ideas. So it's just crazy how even though we're all developers, we all have our own little like niches and spaces that no pun intended actually, but niches and spaces that we all like interact with. So yeah, dev crew, let's go. Yeah, that's one Syrian is like the leader of this group apparently. So or coding path, my bad. Yeah, so it's so cool to see just so many different types of developers in different types of social networks, and just being able to kind of interact with the whole team is pretty cool. All right, yeah. Oh yeah, you're listening to me on Twitter. So yeah, I actually did like a not 6 o'clock pregame Twitter space before the YouTube live just to get everyone a little warmed up. We're going to be talking about web developer portfolios. Something that was really cool was one of my buddies from Twitter named Shashi. Give him a follow. He made a cool Twitter space for me to kind of like promote my course, talk about what the course is all about and why having a portfolio is so important. I've already done a lot of live YouTube streams about the portfolio course, but at the same time, it's just something that I feel like is really important. And yes, sir. Yeah, just a minion within passion. I love it. I love it. But overall, I really wanted to talk about just this portfolio course, and I did talk about it at the Twitter space. Let me just share it really quick. Let's see. Do not disturb. Share. Share screen. This one. Cool. So the course is called the Practical Portfolio course, and it's $19.99 right now, but I am going to increase this price to $24.99 next week. And it's something that I did promise to the people that did buy it earlier, that's saying like, hey, look, if you get it earlier while the course isn't finished, then I will sell it to you at a cheaper price, but it's going to go back up to, or not back up, but it's going to go up to $24.99. And in this course, I really do talk about how to build your portfolio from nothing to something. And it's super important to me because a lot of times we always find roadblocks that, or imaginary roadblocks to think that we can't do this, we can't do that. So I need to learn HTML. Okay. I need to learn CSS. Okay. That makes sense. I need to learn JavaScript. Okay. Maybe I need to learn React. Then I need to learn Vue. Then I need to learn Next. Then I need to learn Nuxt. It's just, you're always going to come up with reasons not to do something. But I want you to know that building a portfolio shouldn't be rocket science as long as you know some very, very basic tools. So the reason why I think this is important is I not only talk about how to build your portfolio by leveraging a theme, but more importantly, I talk about the strategies of where you want to place your projects or where you want to do some customized styling. Why is having your own domain really important in a portfolio, and where you should really like emphasize your time when learning how to become a software developer. So definitely, I have my reasons why I built this. I am not a course creator. I just want to emphasize that again. I am not a course creator, but ultimately what I've kind of grown, what I've wanted to do with my YouTube channel, with my brand, is helping people find jobs. So if I can build a content or kind of course material to help you find a job, then I'm going to make it. Otherwise, like you won't see me making like a Dino.js course or like a Svelte course or anything like that, because I truly believe that even though Svelte is great, it's not something that maybe a new developer should be learning, because there's just so many other ways to get a job faster. And Svelte is just not quite there yet in terms of the job market. But having a portfolio is kind of one of the basic things that everybody should have, especially if you're a new developer. And just imagine you like talking to people or talking to a recruiter, talking to a hiring manager, and you just don't even have a portfolio. I don't know how you're going to convince them to say, please hire me, take a risk on me. And that's kind of the reason why your portfolio is supposed to be something that's simple, lightweight, and just straight to the point of where your projects are, who you are, and just hire me as a developer. So the portfolio, people are going to be looking at it for like maybe 10, 15 seconds initially off the bat. And if some things don't work, then right away your portfolio is not going to be eligible for you to help you find a job. So ideally, what I want to get out of this course for you guys, if you do end up buying it, is that, hey, let's just build something, let's throw it out there. And then after that, you could really just focus on your main priority, which should be your projects. So I do kind of go over like a detail of why I think this course could be good for you. But other than that, just wanted to share this information out there with y'all. If you are interested, like I said, it's going to be this price for one more week. But other than that, let's just chill out, hang out, and I want to keep it really chill. So if you have any questions, please let me know, because then I'll just answer them here. But yeah, I just wanted to give out a little nice shout out to my own course at the moment. What's crazy is actually I bought two domains. I bought a domain called frontendq.io, and I bought another domain called frontendq.com. I can't tell you what it is yet, because I don't know what it is, but I feel like next year I'll have a very good idea of what I want to do with it. I have some thoughts in my head, but I just don't know what exactly I want to do yet. So I'm still learning. I'm still trying to figure out certain things, but hopefully it's going to be pretty cool next year. So yeah, brother, Twitter chat space. Yeah, so I'm really glad I kind of did that before I started my YouTube channel, or sorry, before I started my YouTube live, because now I feel like I was able to kind of bring some people in. If you have any questions, please ask them here, because yeah, let's do it. Sup, Dorian? How you doing? Let's go. Yeah, I'm gonna put on some music. Let's just turn on some like lo-fi or something. I think that's my usual go-to. Blah, 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 blah. Let's see. Let me know if the music is too loud, because last time I tried to make content or repurpose some content, and the music was just too strong. So I couldn't really use it. Share screen, Chrome tab, share tab audio, and then do that. All right. Coolios. The course is amazing, man. I love reading through and manipulating the code base provided. Still working through it. Should be done soon. Yeah, man, I'm really glad. The first thing that we do with this course is just deploy right away, because deployment is not scary. We just got to do it eventually, and might as well just get it out of the way earlier. I know a lot of people, they're like, you should save it for the last part. That way people don't ask for a refund. But who cares, honestly? Like, if you're going to get a refund because I show you how to do a deployment earlier than later, then whatever. It is what it is. Like, I don't care. Ultimately, if that's gonna help you find a job and you want to get your money back afterwards, it is what it is. It's $20, and I'm not gonna complain about it. But as long as it helped you get a job, that's all that matters to me. And after that, that's when the easy part starts. Really, we just find and replace, find and replace, find and replace. So it is what it is. Do I plan to create more courses? No, not exactly, because I'm not a course creator. That's as simple as it sounds, man. Like, I'm not creating courses just for the sake of creating courses. Ultimately, I want to make courses if it makes sense, and it can make sense if I feel like it's going to help you find a job. But right now, I don't have the capacity, and I feel like there are a lot of good course creators out there already. I do want to do something like gargantuan and big, but I'm so happy that I did these smaller courses first, because I am learning a very, very rough lesson about course creation. And it's that it costs money to host your courses. So right now I'm paying Podia $70. I'm going to stop this screen share because I think I'm lagging. But I am paying Podia $70 a month to host my courses. And that means I need to sell at least 4 courses for it to even out. And right now I'm like barely selling any. And that's the harsh reality. It's like you could create good content, but if no one knows about it, then you're kind of screwed here. And I've already paid for the yearly. So I'm learning the hard way that marketing is super, super hard. And you can't take anything for granted. And it just sucks because some people are so good at marketing and their course material actually sucks. So you could see where their priority and money is going. And since I'm a software developer full time, not a marketer, I'm just freaking deer in the headlights and trying to understand this concept. And it's hard because my YouTube channel isn't that big. My Twitter following isn't that big. My TikTok is definitely not big. So I should be thankful for the amount of courses I was able to sell, but still, I feel like I'm at best gonna probably break even for this year with the courses, but that's okay. Because all good things take time, even with software development, and I'm probably a good example of that. Good now that the wife just brought 2 cases of LaCroix from Costco. Yo, Dorian, are you rich, man? 2 cases? That's impressive. Yeah, see, this is the Dorian channel. Everybody loves Dorian. Clever programmer. Yeah, I mean, he's good at selling. I'm not gonna lie. Do his courses really cost, or is it really worth whatever price they're trying to sell it at for? I can't say yes, but I also can't say no because I've never taken it. But knowing what I know, I really feel like you don't need to spend that much unless only reason why I think anything should be that expensive is if you do an in-person boot camp. These online boot camps, they're pretty hard to sell, in my opinion. Or it's like what I really appreciated with my boot camp back in 2016 was the fact that I had to kind of treat it like a job. I went into the office, I put in my 8 hours, and then I worked my overtime by staying late. I worked on weekends. I didn't have a life. I treated it really like one of those true boot camp experiences. And sometimes I feel that being in an online environment can be a little tough, at least if I was in that situation, because I get lazy. I'd want to just go out and hang out with friends. What really got me through the coding bootcamp was the fact that I had other people around me to like push me and like bounce ideas off with. But if I don't have that, then I don't really know how you can kind of mimic that kind of experience. So that's really tough. You need to do the coding phase marketing where you motivate people by yelling and cursing at them. Oh man. You, at the same time, he does make up a good point because sometimes people just need to have that wake up call. And this is one thing that I'm actually learning as a software developer that's trying to make some money independently and whatever side hustle, whatever the heck you want to call it, is in the beginning, I've been, and I still now, I'm very hesitant about feeling too salesy or trying to like push for this like sale or whatever. But at the end of the day, if you truly believe in your product and you truly believe that it can help people, then you're doing yourself a disservice by not talking about it, right? And it's something that I'm starting to learn to just kind of deal with and understand that this is just part of the game. And you got to kind of talk about it, otherwise people won't know, right? And it's so funny because I always tell developers that, hey, you have to like advertise yourself, you have to promote yourself as a developer, otherwise how will recruiters know who you are, how will hiring managers know you are, how will you get that network effect on yourself? And it's funny enough because I'm not even doing that, I'm not practicing that as a, I guess, course creator or a content creator. A lot of my stuff like it's probably to my own detriment that I'm not as like I don't know, my octave of yelling doesn't go high. I'm a pretty cool, calm person, but at the same time, sometimes I guess I do need to yell and just see like, hey, like at the end of the day, man, you got to put in some work. Otherwise, you're not going to be a software developer, and that's just the reality. It's tough. It's tough though because you want to show some positive aspects of it, but the reality is that I went through some pretty tough struggles when I was in my coding bootcamp phase, and I said no to so many different people in terms of weddings, plans, and all of that. And there was just so much sacrifice that was necessary for me to get to where I am. And I think next year I want to make more content where it's more realistic and not necessarily me just reading from a script, because sometimes when I read from a script I realize my true emotions don't actually come out, and it's because I don't want to mess up. And YouTube is very difficult because you need to somehow keep someone's attention for 10 minutes at the minimum, right? And how are you supposed to talk for 10 minutes straight and not have someone bored? Maybe you need to like change it up and kind of yell at them or motivate them in that way and say like, why do you think you don't have a job, right? And a lot of times with my clients that I work with one-on-one, I kind of am a little bit more realistic with them in a sense that I say like, look, you are missing this, this, and this. So for homework, I need you to do this. Otherwise, you can't move on from step one to step two. And that's the truth. So generally, like a lot of my advice is not necessarily I forced you to do this, but if you don't do this, I highly suspect that you won't succeed. So more often than not, most people take my advice and we generally just keep moving forward and forward. Why are front end devs just not calls? You know what? I don't know. I don't know. I think they are called software engineers, but software developer, software engineer, engineer, developer, coding ninja, coding guru, all of these slangs, I have no idea who came up with it. I just say I'm a software engineer that focuses on the front end, or I just say I'm a front end developer. That's what I like doing. So at the end, I really don't care. And if people don't hire me because I say developer over engineer, then I probably don't want to work at that company anyway, because they're gonna nitpick at everything. And do I really want to be a part of a company that does that? No, 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 no. In my opinion, most people want to be told they can do it, but don't actually want to put in the work. Yeah, maybe that's why the yelling kind of works, because some people just need to wake up and just do it. And that's why I made the portfolio course, is because it's so easy. It's so easy to do. And if you can't even do that, then man, you really need to look at yourself in the mirror and ask yourself, are you prioritizing yourself in terms of this like software developer journey? Because man, like if you can't build a portfolio site, which is just basically HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, then I don't know how you're learning or what you're learning, because it just doesn't make sense to me. These are like the basic fundamentals that you need to do. And otherwise, like, why are you even thinking about React? Why are you even thinking about Mongo or backend or the Jamstack or BlockStack or Dino? Who cares about all of this other stuff? Just get your get your crap together with the basics first and then keep moving forward. But it doesn't have to be so linear with your coding journey. You could take intermediate breaks in between and build stuff with it. You actually do know a lot while you're learning, but if you never apply what you learn, then you're always going to constantly feel like, um, why can't I build anything on my own, right? So it's always good to kind of reaffirm those fundamentals because that's how you get better as a software developer. Titles are a way for companies to pay you less. Dorian, let me tell you my future goal in life. After I work really, really hard for the next like maybe 10 years, 15 years, I want to be a very, very well paid junior developer. So someone that's like can do those little small features, work on the like decent sized projects, but not have to deal with the stress of being the architect or all of that stuff. Just call me a junior developer, pay me like some low six-figure salary, and I'll be good. Because then, it's a no stress. I still work relatively decently, just at a calm pace because I know what I'm doing. And I don't have to be in meetings where we make architectural decisions, just the very, very well paid junior developer. And I don't even care about a title. Just call me a junior developer. Don't invite me to these really tough meetings and I'll be perfectly fine. That's my goal as a software developer. Just get really, really good for like the next 10 years and then just go backwards a little bit and kind of coast. And then I'll consider that like retirement because at least I get paid and I still do the work, but it's just chill. It's just chill. I clock in my 8 hours, stress free, and chill out. So maybe I should work at that company you just left. That'll be. But they have to embrace remote working. So if they don't do that, then yeah, I'll probably leave. Junior dev for life. Yeah, exactly. Let's go. But that's actually a good point, man. Like the titles are so dumb. Sometimes like companies will not pay you more money and just kind of give you a title to say, hey, look, we just made you a senior developer. And it's like, cool. Do I get paid more? It's like, nope. So it's like, wait, why do I have more responsibilities if you're paying me the same exact amount? Don't I want to get paid the same exact amount and then just stay in that current role where I don't have to like stress myself out? I don't know. That seems like a no-brainer to me. If anything, even at my last company, I was trying not to get promoted because like the pay increase wasn't there. And I was just like, look, like if you're gonna make me a senior, then give me a raise. Doesn't it make sense? I don't know. I must be taking crazy pills or something. The grind is crazy. I have a CS degree, but getting your first job is insane. I think people need to remember it's a marathon and not a sprint. Yeah, exactly. L- completely agree. And it's crazy to me because some people they think that, oh, I failed one or two interviews. I'm not meant for software development. I can honestly tell you that I failed at least a minimum of 10 to 20 to 30 interviews throughout my time as a software developer. And sometimes you're going to hit a really good interviewer. Sometimes you're going to have a really good question that you know how to answer. And sometimes they're going to give you this crazy leak code question, hard question. And then you start contemplating, like, why am I even here? There's been so many times in an interview where 10 minutes in out of an hour, I started the coding interview or the technical aspect. And I'm like sitting there knowing that I have 50 minutes left. And I know I'm not going to answer this question because it just doesn't make sense to ask this kind of question during a coding interview. And I just kind of blankly look at him or her that's interviewing me. And I'm like, so I don't know if I'm going to be able to answer this. There have been literal moments where I just kind of blankly stare and don't even type. And I'm just like looking at it like this, like, what's the point? What's the point of this? Why are you asking me this question? And I'm just like, almost like, man, what am I gonna eat for lunch in the next hour? Because it's just so crazy to me that sometimes people ask me these like ridiculous questions. Ugh. Cringe. What am I missing? Dang, so many. Most companies are looking for mid-senior level developers because companies are all going remote. Also, I'm in the Bay Area, so definitely different here. Yes, that is true. Senior devs in the Bay Area are getting 300K. I wouldn't be surprised because the Bay is super expensive. Let's see. What did I miss here? Oh, the more senior you get, the less code you write and the more meetings you're invited to. And they have to share a house with 4 roommates because they can't afford a house on a 300K salary. I think on a 300K salary, you could definitely afford a decent apartment, but I don't know, you're not really saving too much in some regards. So, um, yeah, I mean, I feel like San Francisco, New York, the one thing I don't let me drink this really quick. The one thing the one thing I don't get about tech Twitter sometimes is that people are like, everyone should get paid based on the salaries of San Francisco and New York. It's all skill based. And I'm like, no, dum dum. Like, you live in New York and you work at a company in New York, then you should get paid a little bit more because it's expensive as hell here. I pay 16 something for this room in my apartment, and I share my apartment with 2 other roommates. So, like, for 16 something in Texas, I could probably get a really nice 2 bedroom, or I could get a really nice 3 bedroom in like Alabama or something. Like, why is it that you get to live like a king in some cheaper cost of living area while I live in New York? And people are gonna ask me, well, it's your choice that you lived in New York. I was like, the company is in New York. So obviously you're gonna get paid New York salary, right? It's all based on the cost of living. So I don't know why a lot of these people think that, oh, I should be getting paid 300K while I live in Thailand. It's like, dude, you could live perfectly fine making 100K in Thailand and you'll live like a king. So why do you need to get paid 200K more? Like, do you want to, like, what is the gain from that, right? And it's so hard for me to kind of explain this concept because it sounds so simple. But the thing is, people don't understand. It's like people have this imagination that, oh, it should all be based on skill, which to a certain extent I agree. But dude, living in New York and SF is not cheap at all. So like if my rent was $800 or something like that, then maybe yeah, like we could start equalizing the pay a little bit. But the fact that I pay almost 2 to 3 times your rent, I do need to get paid more. So it is what it is. It's all about equity. That's so true. These days, as a software developer, the pay is good, but you start thinking about equity a lot more, especially in startups, because there's no guarantee that your startup's going to be the next unicorn. But if it is, you're going to get paid really, really well. And I know a few people that have worked at Zoom before the IPO, and their stock was just cash money, cash money. They're just banking so hard right now, and I'm just like, damn, like that's why being a software developer is so great, honestly. It's because you may not be getting the most money right off the bat in the beginning, and you have to do a lot more extra work like building the portfolio, working on your LinkedIn, networking, getting paid a low salary. I got paid 70,000 a year in New York City. Sorry, 75,000 a year in New York City, which is the equivalent of making like 27,000 in Austin. And the reason why I'm using Austin was because I was getting paid 70 something thousand in Austin. So you can only imagine in my head, like I just paid 12 to $15,000 on a boot camp to make almost $50,000 less in relative scale. I was like, what the hell am I doing? What mistake did I make here? But trust me when I say this, like your salary increases like in not in a linear fashion, but very exponential. So as long as you're putting in the work to keep learning and keep getting better as a developer, then you're going to be able to increase your salary so much faster. So I highly recommend you to number one, get yourself out there, build that portfolio. Take my course if you want to. If you don't want to, that's fine too. Just find a free template, work off of that, and then just start iterating, learning, building. Don't make the mistakes that a lot of junior developers do, where you don't have like a domain and all of that stuff. And then find a job. Take your first job, even if it's kind of crappy pay. Take it. If it's enough for you to survive like a year, year and a half, then go with that. And then start working really, really hard and make yourself appealing to the point that people have to pay you the six figures. People have to pay you the 100, 150, 200K as well. So let's make sure we do that. Ooh, portfolio reviews. I don't know if my laptop can handle this, to be honest, because it's so slow. But yeah, if you guys want to send it to me, how do I do that? Let's see. I guess you guys could join my Discord. Is that easier? I don't know. Or you could send it to my email, info@techrally.co. And then I'll take a look there. And if it's worth it, then I'll show it. But yeah. If you want to Amazon Connect Tech Rally, I got Amazon emails all the time from Mid and can reference you. Thanks, man. But I actually already work at Amazon. So I'm not sure how that will help me at the moment, but you know what? Please provide it anyways. I actually bought a desktop computer, so it's coming in a couple days. Or actually, it's already arrived, but I dropped it off at my friend's place because I wasn't in New York City at the time. So I really can't wait to like work on it, and that's probably going to be my streaming platform because I do want to eventually move over to Twitch and kind of work on my project, the frontendq.io, when I know exactly what I want to do with it, and probably do some live streaming there. And outside of this whole YouTube and Tech Rally stuff, it's going to be kind of associated with Tech Rally and the courses. But what is super important with that one is I'm actually learning Next.js and Auth and all of that stuff. Because crazy enough, even though I've been using React for about like 4 or 5 years, I really never had a good use case to use Next.js, because a lot of times I'll be working with um, applications that already existed, and or single page applications was perfectly fine for me. So now that I want to build something that needs to be more SEO optimized, server side rendered, all of that cool buzzwords, I really do think I need to kind of invest a little bit more time into learning some Next.js, and that's gonna be what I'm gonna be building my platform on. So definitely kind of in the learning phase at the moment, trying to figure out what I like and what I don't like. Some people have been talking about the Jamstack using like Fauna DB or Prisma and all of that stuff. So I'm just kind of in this I'm kind of in this research phase of figuring out what my tech stack's gonna be, and that'll be kind of fun. I think that's gonna be really fun. What am I using now for YouTube? I'm using StreamYard, and it is expensive, $49 a month. This I'm doing for you guys. I really like StreamYards because of this feature, because I get to click on a comment and then it just shows up right away. I know Streamlabs has those comment features on the side of the screen, but it's really hard to kind of pick an exact comment and show it up like this. So the fact that it's able to do this is actually pretty clutch, and that's why I pay for it. But is it worth it? I don't know. I guess so, because I'm interacting with y'all here. So from that perspective, I can't complain. But it, eh, man, when you have your own business or quote unquote business, you spend money on everything. Like I literally pay like $13 for Canva, $49 for StreamYards, like $9.99 for TubeBuddy. What else do I pay for? I just pay for a bunch of random stuff that is specific for this YouTube channel. Camera, bought this like $400 something microphone. And yes, I am writing it off. So luckily, I'm operating at a loss. So, and all the gains that I get from this is just going back to zero. So can't complain. It's from the viewer standpoint. Your stream stands out compared to those that use the comment. Exactly. And that's why I think it's worth it. Because having something like this gives me a chance to show which question I'm responding to rather than just kind of randomly selecting one. I'm going to use my finger and be like, guys, I'm responding to this comment right here. And then it just suddenly disappears. So, yeah. What camera am I using? I'm using the Canon EOS M50. So that is my vlog. That was supposed to be my vlogging camera when I wanted to be more of a, what do you call it, Instagrammer slash day in the life of a software developer type of content. But unfortunately, I haven't actually made videos like that. And maybe I will. Maybe I'll just submit to the algorithm and show you what a day in the life of a Amazon developer is. But I suck at making B-roll. So maybe I'll expense Jeremiah to come back to New York and we can make some content together. Do you use React or Angular at Amazon? You could use wherever you want as long as it makes sense. They don't really care. I built my portfolio in Next.js and Tailwind and simple and nice. Yeah, man, that's awesome. As long as you have one, that's the most important thing, because a lot of people I've met, they just don't even have one and they're too afraid to make one. And come on now, like, it's as long as you know HTML, CSS, and you know how to interpret it, then anyone should have a portfolio. I think I gave it too much sizzle. Might give you motion sickness. Oh man, that's actually one thing that I will talk about a little bit right now, but maybe not. I didn't talk about it in the course. Is that I think animations and all that stuff is cool, but too much animations makes your website really slow and it just feels lethargic when you're viewing the portfolio. I like to keep my stuff just really simple as possible. Just throw it on there. Let me see your projects. Let me see your GitHub. Let me see your actual project on a real domain. And if it works, if it's functional, then I'm pretty happy. But if there's just like spinning letters that say Dorian, 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 or something like that, I'm gonna go crazy. I'm gonna be like, I'm gonna close this right now because I can't deal with too much animations. And I think people try to get really clever with it. And I don't know if you guys know about like newspaper print back then or magazines. They really try to be unique on how they present their stuff on like paper, but I really think that there already is a pretty good formula already out there for web developer portfolios or just websites in general. And customers love to see things that they're used to seeing. So if you start kind of going out of the box too much, then it does really make the customer feel like I don't know what I'm looking at the moment. So it's really nice to try to keep it simple and then add some simple animations as you go. Do you ever think about putting your course on Udemy? No. And I don't care if I get more customers on through Udemy, but from all the people I've talked to, Udemy is like, I don't even know how to describe it, but Udemy is a really horrible experience because you don't even have access to the people that are signed up for your courses. Like the email list is actually the most important part about your company in general. So you could share information with them and all of that stuff. But Udemy actually hides all of your clientele. And that forces you to always use Udemy all the time. And Udemy is kind of one of those things where everyone feels like everything should cost like $4.99 or lower. And if you're putting in that much work for content creation or course creation, then I don't see how it could be worth it unless you're like one of the top creators, because it really is kind of like that race to the bottom and people are just paying like pennies on the dollar when I've already seen firsthand how hard it is to build these courses, and it just takes so much work. And I just can't imagine that like people are just paying like $5 for it, and after you just putting in so much work to like help out people. So definitely Udemy was something I looked into, and I was kind of surprised by their pricing model and all that stuff. Oh yeah, I totally forgot about that. The train and subway video was great. That actually was one of those trips I went to Connecticut by myself, and I actually just used my iPhone. That iPhone is very powerful, and I was able to get some good B-roll that way. I actually find my iPhone to be a little bit better to make B-roll than my Canon. And I don't know if it's because my Canon settings aren't very well configured, but it just feels a lot more smoother using my iPhone, which is kind of crazy. Day in the life of Amazon developer NYC. Yes, I think that would be a pretty good one in the future. And then plug in my course. Just teach me all the ropes, boys. Wait, Kenny, what camera do you use for your videos? I'm very curious. Kenny actually got me in love for B-roll. Yes, sir. Getting blown up by recruiters, but being picky on the ones I respond to. Yeah, this is a very privileged position to be in, and I know a lot of us that are in this space that are new, they would love to get a bunch of recruiters messaging them. And that's why I took the effort to talk to these recruiters and ask them, like, hey, are there any junior developer roles that are available? And more often than not, they say no. And to that extent, man, I am very, very disappointed with the job market for junior developers and just the lack of recruiters who kind of specifically cater to junior developers. This is probably more of a reflection on a company that's unwilling to like train their developers. But if you were to tell me that I can get a junior developer at a lower price for maybe like 1 or 2 years, and I have to kind of invest in them in terms of getting them up to speed, but maybe they're getting paid a little bit of a lower salary, if you don't have the funds to do it, then, or sorry, if you don't have the funds to pay for like a senior developer, I think that could be really worth it. But I don't think companies ever really think that way. They just want to get someone with experience now, which is super unfortunate. But there are companies that have the appropriate infrastructure to hire junior developers. It just sucks that more companies aren't embracing it. M50 is a great camera, but I have a Canon EOS R6. Okay, I'll take a look into that. EOS R6. Okay, so it's about $2,500. What kind of lens do you use for that one? I'd be curious. Oh, actually, it's $2,600 with the 24 to 105 millimeter lens. Interesting. Is it this one? The EOS R6 mirrorless lens, or not? No, sorry, the body is EOS R6, but what kind of lens do you use? I'd be curious. Man, why are cameras so expensive? The Canon RF 1535 USM is my favorite lens. Man, okay, that's good to know. This might be my investment for next year. We'll see if I can. Holy moly, that's a lot of money though. That's crazy. So do you use this one for vlogging, and do you use this for everything in terms of like going outside and recording and going maybe even recording inside? Is it like an all-purpose camera for you? Sony FX3. Okay, I'll take a look into these. This job market is very hard for junior developers, and not just the front end devs, but majority dev roles. They aren't offering junior positions. Yeah, and that's why I feel like you kind of need to sell yourself in a way with someone with somewhat experience. It may not be quote unquote work experience or professional work experience, but you need to show through your projects that, hey, I know how to use Git and GitHub. I've been able to build a project that has using customers. And when I say using customers, I mean in a sense of like get 10 of your friends to to go on your app, build a bunch of fake posts or whatever you're doing. If it's a bug, what is it called? Bug tracker, or like a whatchamacallit, a expense calculator. Just get like 10 or 20 family members to just build stuff on top of your application so it doesn't look empty, right? And just show that your app is functional. And then just really study hard for your interview prep. And then that's kind of the way you kind of have to sell yourself a little bit. You do have to play the game a little, and you can't just kind of shoot yourself in the foot by saying like, oh, I am a junior developer, I am looking for my first role, please hire me, please hire me, please hire me. You kind of have to say like, these are my skills, this is what I can do, and I would love for you to consider me for your role in this position. And just kind of like be silent basically with that kind of statement, because sometimes I feel like as a new person or as someone that doesn't have a lot of experience, you kind of lose that confidence in yourself to say that, oh, like everything I learned is actually not that much. You gotta showcase yourself. You have to sell yourself. And if you're already putting yourself down, then how can you expect someone that's like a hiring manager or recruiter to be like, oh, I feel pretty good about this one? If anything, they're gonna say like, ugh, I'm not sure. I'm not sure. It's pretty discouraging that a recruiter are looking mainly for senior devs. I thought it was the opposite. Yeah, man, they're really looking hard for mid to senior. But the thing is, why I say it's really important to say yes to your first job is because right after that, you suddenly become a mid-level developer, which is kind of funny, but so true. And so often than not, people are like, oh, I don't want to take this job because the pay doesn't work well, or it's an hour and a half commute. When you're looking for your first job, you don't get that kind of privilege. I'm sorry to say this, you don't get that kind of privilege. Just take the damn job and then start looking for another job. Just put that on your resume. That's like such an important thing to do. And after that, find something that you're actually interested in or something that pays you more. But if you're going to constantly look for the perfect unicorn job, you may never get it because you're still on the weaker side of the leverage, in the sense that you are looking for a job because you have no work experience. But once you have work experience, then you could kind of start negotiating. And even what Dorian said, he's getting a bunch of recruiter messages, but he's selectively picking which recruiter he wants to work with because he can and he has the work experience. So always good to just work in the side of leverage. And you can do that by just having your first job. That's so important. I use this camera for everything, but before I used the M50 with the 16 millimeter Sigma F. How much is that? Because I'm using the stock lens, and maybe that's why a lot of my stuff is garbage. Would you recommend doing that? Because honestly, I'm not trying to get too crazy with the cameras and stuff, but if I could find something that's relatively decent, I think I'm using the stock one, which is the 15 to 45 millimeter one. And I think it's okay, but it's not great. So the fact that if I can improve the lens, then I'll do that first before just upgrading into a crazy camera. Upgrading my camera was the worst financial decision ever. That's good to know. So maybe I just need to upgrade my lens. I don't need to upgrade anything else. I think that'll be kind of the way to go here. What do you think, Kenny? I need your expertise here. So I want to suggest upgrading until you get good with your start. It's definitely not necessary for tech YouTube. I just value quality that most viewers. Okay, that's fair enough. But what do you think about the lens? Should I upgrade the lens, or is it just going to be pretty arbitrary with the stock lens versus this lens that you used before? You also need to grind leak code and at least be able to do medium level questions. Yep, that's so true. I only studied leak code questions that were either easy or medium. I didn't do any hard ones because I did not feel like it. Those hard ones are really hard, man. Like, I don't understand why anyone would ask you the hard leak code questions, because I don't even think you're gonna be able to finish it in the time frame that they ask you. So I'd rather avoid it if possible. Yeah, you can't be picky for your first job. I had to go to Arkansas, but the pay was, oh man, how was that? when I was living in New York during my coding bootcamp, they asked me if I wanted to move to North Carolina, and I was like, no, I'm good. And that was because I lived in Texas for 3 years before. And not gonna lie, I really miss living on the coast because they have really good Asian food. But living in Texas or living in North Carolina, I just know that I could live there, but man, it's gonna really suck finding good Asian food. And when you live on the coast, that's generally where the good Asian food is. And I was like, no, I can't. Please just give me a job in New York and I'll be fine. I need that Korean barbecue. The Korean barbecue is where I live, man. Like, definitely there wouldn't be any good food there. I mean, there's American style barbecue, but it's just not the same for me. I just passed my technical interview. I had one leak code easy and one leak code medium, and I nailed it. Good job, dude. How'd you do? Like, well, what's next? What's next for you? Because that already sounds like a pretty crazy interview. The fact that you had to solve two technical questions, and then you might have a final round. I assume. Hopefully, that's not too many. Because I don't know. I think the sweet spot for interview process should be somewhere between 2 to 5. Anything more than that, I think it's a little too overwhelming. I got a crazy DFS question from Google. It was rough. Yeah, man. Interview process, it's really a hit or miss. Sometimes they'll ask you the data structures and algorithm. Sometimes they won't. Sometimes they'll ask you some kind of weird recursion question. You just don't know what they're going to ask you. So you kind of have to live and die by the sword of just trying to be a generalist and trying to know as much as you can. That's why I never actually memorize anything. I just try to solve it on the spot. Uh, there are certain things where you kind of do have to memorize. Like, I don't know if you guys ever got that problem where you have to like console log out a bunch of numbers in a like circular format thing. Like that one, you just have to memorize, and it's so stupid because it's one of those things that you can figure out if you have a lot of time. And as software developers, none of us are actually like under the gun to solve it under an hour, right? Because if you push out code that takes under an hour, that probably means you didn't test it, you didn't QA it, you didn't do anything with it. You just basically just wrote it and then just deployed it. So the fact that you're expected to do these things under time crunch is kind of like not realistic, but it is what it is. Final round is focused on Android development, so no leak code questions. Who doesn't love Android development, right? It was 70K, but I left last year. Now I live in DC. Dude, that's awesome, man. 70K in Arkansas, I'm pretty sure goes you a long way. Hopefully you're making more in DC because DC is actually pretty expensive. It's relatively close to the price of New York, from what I remember. And specifically, if you live in DC and not Virginia, I know that it could get pretty pricey there too. DC is super clean, actually. It's so difficult for junior developers to get a job. Why are so many people claiming that there's a lot of jobs? It is just for devs with experience. Huh. Great question. I think that is somewhat true, but maybe there's just an over influx of aspiring developers that want to get junior developer roles, and that might be a byproduct of free resources, coding boot camps, now even schools doing some type of like side coding boot camp and whatnot. But the reality is that you do need to stand out amongst the crowd. And how do you stand out? Do the little things that matter, like building a portfolio, updating your LinkedIn, networking on Twitter, networking with recruiters. All of these things are kind of list of things to do that not everybody does. And that's a shame because you always ask yourself, like, why don't I have a call or why don't I have an interview? But the thing is, people aren't even putting in the minimal effort to stand out. And if you aren't putting in the minimal effort, then why do you think that you're not even getting calls for an interview? It's because you don't have the Carfax to prove that, hey, look, I am capable of really contributing to your team right away. And here are my results to show it. But so many people aren't even doing that. and they're just applying blindly, hoping that something will stick. But that's just far from the case. Most often than not, people get jobs through networking and all of that stuff. So try to stand out from the pack by doing the extra work, by changing it up a little bit. Someone actually gave me this advice, and I think it's so cool to do. Is they specifically researched companies that they wanted to work at, and they did a heavy investment of learning what companies they wanted to work at. And they reached out to them through LinkedIn. And rather than just sending some generic message saying like, hey, I would love to do a virtual coffee chat, blah, 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 blah. What they actually did was they sent that person a Starbucks gift card. And through the Starbucks gift card, they were able to get a virtual chat because that person actually paid for their coffee rather than just saying, like, I would love to have a coffee chat where you are drinking your own coffee that you pay for and I'm drinking the coffee that I pay for. The fact that someone was willing to put money on the table, and it's only like $5. The reason why, and the fact that you're able to put $5 in their hands to buy a cup of coffee is telling them that, hey, I know your time is valuable and I don't want to just waste your time with me. Let me buy you a cup of coffee and we could have a virtual chat about your company and what you do and see if there are any openings at your current company. If someone bought me a cup of coffee, I would totally be down to just talk with them, right? Because that's the difference between someone just blindly reaching out to me using some generic template versus someone that's putting in a little bit of effort and actually wanting to get to know who I am and how to get into this kind of company. So try to stand out, try to do something unique. I mean, you don't have to send them $1 million or anything like that, but just try to do something that can make you look a little bit more unique compared to every other junior developer that's out there. We'll give you an open aperture, which will allow for a lot of light in, but we'll give you a very blur with a focused subject. Okay, yeah. So I think that might actually be good for me because I do want to do a lot more content outside. And the reason why I haven't been doing it is because my EOS M50 is just connected to this like tripod, but I do need a little bit more. I should get some more motivation to try to build out more content that way, but we'll see. Should I go React or Vue route? I personally think the React route is a better route just because I feel that there are more jobs out there, but kind of look into your job market, see what companies in your area are hiring for, and then work accordingly. Do you have your current lens zoomed in or zoomed out? Is it at 15 or 45? It's zoomed out right now. I could definitely zoom in more, I believe. Yeah. But yeah, it's zoomed out relatively. So uh, let me zoom in a little bit more. That's good enough. Yeah, exactly. It's pretty expensive to live in. Am I centered? Probably not centered. Let's go. That's better. Back in the day, Vegas people used to get paid good valet and bellman and nightclub jobs. So pretty sure that's not legal though. Huh. Yeah. Man, Vegas is so fun, but that place, I don't know how you live there, Dorian, because I would always want to like bet on sports or go gambling. It's just a place to just enjoy all your vices, and it's pretty crazy there. I mean, I used to go a lot when I was in college because it was just a drive away. But damn, man, if I lived in Vegas, I think I would go crazy. But I actually heard from a lot of people that live in Vegas, they don't actually go to the strip. So who knows? I live in the Boston, and I know it's more expensive than Northern Virginia. Yeah, man, the East Coast is so expensive. Like even Boston, Virginia, or DC, New York, those three are super expensive. So, yeah, I don't know. I think you just gotta get paid. But one thing that I'll say to you about this experience of living in New York is it taught me that I should work and fight for my salary more. if you live in a kind of a cheaper area, you're just like content with the money that you're making. But for me, making more money was not about just the fact of making more money and I could like be a baller. Literally living in New York and making more money was so I could kind of improve my cost of living. It was all about like, oh wow, I finally have a window with the sunlight coming in, or oh wow, I have hot water when I shower and it doesn't just turn cold randomly at moments of like in the winter moments. So my motivation for making more money and learning how to code better was basic survival versus, oh, I want to be rich as hell and just retire early. And that kind of changed my perspective of, oh, wow, like I can fight and ask for this kind of money as long as my skills prove it. But it's just so funny, like what my initial motivation was for making more money. It was the fact that I had no sunlight in my room. It was the fact that I had only cold water, random moments in my time living in a crappy apartment. All of those reasons are the reasons why I was like, I gotta be better. I gotta be better so I can make more money. yeah, I would get a yeah, I would get a EF at 50 millimeter f1 for the B-roll, and then a Sigma. These two lens should be plenty to make good outside content. I'm taking like screenshots of this so I don't forget. Also buy an ND filter. Nice. And whatever frame rate you shoot at, you want to double that in shutter speed. Yeah, I know that one. Yeah, that one I learned. That one I learned. If you sell out to the algo a bit, a day in the life, my regret as a bootcamp grass. Simplify your thumbnail titles. I think you'll get some solid traction. That's true. That's true. Yeah, it's the constant fight that I have between myself. It's like, do I make content for the sake of making content, or do I make content that I feel is valuable to my viewers? And in some regards, I could see how both sides make sense, because like I need to make some content where it is more clickbaity or selling to the algorithm so I could have more subscribers. That way I could actually build content that's useful for them. But if I just keep building content that's useful that no one watches, then what's the point of making it, right? So I think that's kind of something I internally struggle with. And it was kind of nice to not have to worry about that for a while, because I was not making YouTube content. I was just chilling at home in California and resting. And it made me kind of not, it really put me in a good spot, because I think like sometimes YouTube gives me a lot of anxiety. Yeah, YouTube really gives me a lot of anxiety that I need to keep making content. I need to put out another video. I need to like make some more content. I need to make B-roll. I need to edit. And I personally just hate editing videos. So it was so nice to just be away from my little YouTube studio and just kind of do whatever the hell I wanted outside of YouTube, because man, like I don't know if I actually enjoy making YouTube videos. I like streaming. I like streaming and talking to you guys about this kind of stuff, but making YouTube content is actually pretty hard. I wish that I had like a little team that would do that could record me recording and then just do all the editing for me, because I like talking about things, but just the whole background stuff that I have to do with editing and all that stuff is just so much work that personally I'm not super interested in. And that's probably why my content is so dry, is because I don't put as much effort into the editing process. So yeah, I mean, you get what you put in, right? So it is what it is on that front. Making YouTube videos is not good for your mental health. Yeah, man, it really isn't. And the fact that I was able to get away from it and just be in California and just actually making TikTok videos is way more fun than making YouTube videos, because it's just 15 to 30 seconds of content and that's it. And then you make your small edits, just post it and then let it go. But with YouTube, it's like, how do I make sure I can make 10 minutes worth of video? And it's just so much work. And I know that Kenny, you put in a lot of work for your most recent video where you went to Harvard, and it got pretty disappointing results in your level, right? Like for me, that would be a win. But for you, I know that wasn't quite the number that you were hoping to get, and you put all this work and all this investment into making that kind of content, and does sometimes it just doesn't hit, and I'm pretty sure it sucks, right? So that is the tough part about YouTube, in my opinion. Do I like making TikTok? I love making TikToks, at least right now, because I feel like I can be a little bit more creative. I could be a lot more funnier with it. And I just found this new kind of side of me that I just didn't know existed, where I can be funny. I can make kind of clever content on TikTok, and it doesn't have to be this crazy long form content. It's very just very open and loose in the way I make my content. And honestly speaking, I never plan any of the videos I make on TikTok. I just kind of see something, and then if I like the sound of it, I just bookmark it. And eventually I just kind of come up with this random idea of either trolling or talking about my journey in a very simple and quick way. And I don't know, I love it. I love it right now. And YouTube is good, and it's always going to be where I originally started from, and where I still meet a lot of the people that are kind of interested in actually kind of trying to change their lives as a developer. But I'm so glad I kind of joined TikTok too, because it just brought this other side of me that is more creative, and hopefully I can translate that from TikTok to YouTube. So I think moving forward, I want to make more videos where it's like less scripted, just talk about just from my perspective and without a script. And that way it comes out more naturally. Maybe I'll add in a little bit more music that makes more sense. Maybe I'll add more B-roll. All this stuff is kind of what kind of brings everything in together. But yeah, it's so hard, honestly speaking, because on top of trying to be like a coach and a mentor and like kind of build these courses, I'm also doing like content creation. So, people ask me like, are you trying to be an influencer, or are you trying to be more of like a coach? And it kind of works together, but at the same time, they also work separately. You know what I mean? Like, they don't necessarily, there are a lot of overlap, but there are a lot of differences with it, right? So, because if you really want to get into coaching and you really want to get into this like path of really helping software developers, which is what I want to do, then you need to focus on certain areas. But to be honest, like, YouTube is actually part of that kind of side of helping developers get land their first job, as well as Twitter. But TikTok is not as much, which is what I'm noticing. But I'm just trying to find out that right balance of being a content creator, course creator slash coach, and also maintain a full-time job and also have a personal life. Yeah, it sounds like a recipe for disaster. Oh, that's good. At least your latest video is doing well. I think that's the one where, like, if I had to start over as a developer, this is what I would do or something. A lot of dev content creators are huge from TikTok and Twitter. That's true. Yeah. Am I from Yeah, so I have family back in SoCal, but my base is now in New York. Either way, honestly, I think a day in your life would be really interesting, especially in New York. Yeah, man, if you're ever in New York, let's do some content together. I would love to do that. Last time Jeremiah was here, we were supposed to do content, but we ended up just eating Korean barbecue and just chilling and talking, which I really love too. Not everything has to be content. I genuinely like meeting people and just hanging out and not having to turn on a camera to, I don't know, share with the world kind of thing. But we could definitely come up with some fun stuff, I think. Yeah, cut that personal life stuff out. Yeah, man, we should have made more content, bro. You're a horrible content creator. No, I'm kidding. We were having too much fun. That is content. was the was the camera rolling? I don't even remember. It would be cool to have like a course not a course. I was gonna say a retreat full of content creators, and then we could do like a bunch of different like collaborations and all that. I think that would be pretty clutch. But I don't know, with this new crazy like variants and stuff that's coming out. I don't even know what people are gonna be up to these days. So it is what it is. Blah 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 blah. Blah. How long have I been live for? I've been live for an hour. That's pretty good in my eyes. I don't know how people do live streams for like 2, 3, 4 hours. I'm very impressed with people that do live streaming on Twitch. But at the same time, they're also playing games and they're doing stuff. So maybe that's why. Because literally all I'm doing is just like talking to no one in some regards. I'm like talking to people in the chat, but not necessarily having like a huge like conversation or whatever. So maybe that's something that I don't know. Maybe some live streaming on with coding could help be a little bit more helpful, but I don't know. Miami Mansion Summer 2020 Dev Creator Retreat. Oh, I didn't know that was a real thing. Sorry, was that something that actually happened, or is that are you trying to say summer of 2022? Because I'd be interested in both actually, or not both, but I'd be interested in the 2022 one. Do I play video games? Not really, because I don't have time anymore, but I actually do enjoy video games, and I did buy a computer that is relatively powerful, but I'm mostly going to be using it for gaming. Let me see if I can pull it up really quick. Let's see. Where is it? Dang it. Um, Give me a second. Oh, wow. Yes, I guess it's sold out, but let me share my screen. Let me know what you guys think about this. I bought this computer for $1,000 with the Cyber Monday or Black Friday deal. Let me zoom up a little bit. So with tax, I got it for $1,000. I think it's a pretty good deal. So got the NVIDIA GeForce RTX 3060, and getting a graphics card is so hard these days. So the fact that it came with that is pretty good. 16 gigs of RAM, 1 terabyte hard drive, and 512 gigabyte SSD. Honestly, I think we can see all the specs here. I mean, I don't think the 11 home really matters, but the Ryzen 5700, 3.8 gigahertz, 8 core, 16 threads. Nope. But because the video cards are so hard to get. So for the fact that I was able to get all of this for a K, I think it's pretty good. And I want to use this to do all of my live streams. I want to use this to Twitch. Sorry, not live streams on YouTube and live stream on Twitch whenever I want to code. And then also use this for video editing, because sometimes trying to video edit on my MacBook is just garbage. So the fact that I was able to get this at that price, I'm pretty happy with it. And actually, this is pretty good too. Like usually these like pre-made computers, they always give you kind of like crappy power supply. So for the fact that I was able to get a gold here, I thought that was a pretty good deal. So yeah, I'm pretty content. Yeah. $1,000 with tax. So the fact that, yeah, this is out of stock now. So I think I got a pretty good deal. The case looks pretty ugly, but I don't know. I don't know if you guys follow other YouTube channels that are related to building your own desktop or buying pre-made computers and reviewing it. But so many people are like wowed by like the glass tempered cases that you could see the inside and all that crap. But but then when you look at it, it's like complete garbage in terms of the specs. What do I edit with? I edit with Adobe Premiere Pro right now, and I'm not very good at it, but I do just enough where I'm able to survive. So I think this is gonna be a game changer, and I could actually, if I do Twitch streaming, then I could actually play games with it. So there might be some type of, coding plus gaming content for Tech Rally in the future. You just never know. Yeah, that's a good deal. I don't like the RGB. Yeah, I mean, I kind of like this like simple green look too, but definitely it's not one of those flashy computers. But who cares about the outside? I think the inside's really important here. So the fact that I could play some decent games with it is going to be pretty clutch for me. And then overall, it's a business write off, so it's a win-win for me. TR Gaming, yes sir, let's go. And I could play Halo for free. Yeah, that's the plan. Play Halo for free. That's the only reason why I got this computer. Oh man, Dorian, we need to hear your whole history, brother. Just kidding. Good thing the companies that are interviewing you don't know about my channel, because you just got exposed, dude. Oh man. Do you guys know of any like news or tech news that happened recently? Um, Let me know, because I am curious. The only thing that I want to talk about now that I'm aware of, maybe I'll talk about it in the future, but we could kind of hint at it today, is did you guys know that Lambda School changed their name? Where are they? Bloom, they changed it to, let's see. Are we going to talk about this? Sure, let's talk about this. Let's do this. Is this better? Nope. This better? Yes. Boom. This is the new Lambda School right here, guys. Bloom Institute of Technology. I don't understand it. I do understand it. It's because Lambda School and maybe a lot of coding boot camps have just been getting a lot of bad press, and they've been getting a little bit of a bad press because their stuff has not been good. And I think is it Vincent Wu? He has some vendetta against Lambda School, and maybe justifiably so. But this guy made a tweet about the graduation rates actually being very, very deceptive by Lambda School. And it just kind of goes on this, he goes on this like Twitter rant about how a lot of students didn't graduate, how a lot of students that did graduate might have found jobs maybe like actually a year or two later. And this is kind of interesting too, where it's like after the layoffs, you could see how a majority of the executive team have also left. Oh man, it just keeps going down this crazy, crazy rabbit hole. And for someone to do this much research on one school is pretty crazy. And I applaud him for doing this, because it puts more accountability for schools to do a better job. Like, people might think that this is some hit piece or like coding bootcamps suck, but I think coding bootcamps definitely have a place in this industry. But come on, do not lie or do not be deceptive. Just be honest about this kind of stuff. And the fact that you're able to kind of take advantage of students that are putting their trust in you, and you are kind of taking advantage of that. And like, it's crazy to me that this school was charging potentially up to $30,000 for you to attend this coding bootcamp, when I heard like apparently there was like the student to teacher ratio was potentially like 30 to 1, like 30 students for one, and they wanted to make it even bigger and bigger and bigger. And uh, they're kind of treating like students and people like dollar signs basically. And when a school starts treating their students and people like that, I think that is a huge red flag. So I it's just crazy to me that they kind of went to this like Facebook route of changing their name to Meta, and now Lambda School is changing themselves into Bloom Institute of Technology. Oh man, I think this is kind of, I don't know how this is gonna sell in the future, but I really cannot comfortably recommend a school like Lambda School or now it's called Bloom Institute of Technology, just because you just hear too many horror stories with it, and I don't know. I don't know. Trying to get rid of that bad press. Going to have to, yeah, you have to update it both with both Lambda School and Bloom Institute of Technology. Maybe they made this super long now, so it's harder to find on YouTube. But who knows? ITT Tech. Oh man, I wish I had known to ask a bootcamp is not placement rate necessarily. It's the stat on how many students that enroll actually graduate. Yeah, that's super important. And I kind of went on this like crazy, not crazy rant or tweet storm, but I was reviewing Coding Dojo's job placements, and I only looked at it for like 5 minutes, and I was like, "What the heck? This 99 point whatever percent job placement rate is so skewed because they do it in a way that they randomly select a certain amount of people, and these people are the ones that graduate. And what about the people that didn't graduate, right? So I don't know, these numbers, I just don't like how the numbers are skewed in that way. Like, is there a perfect formula? Maybe, maybe not. But the fact that the big number that stands out is like this 90% plus is based on people that were able to survive the gauntlet and graduate. And then within those smaller cohorts, they even like filter it down even more. But I think it's more important to understand, like, wait a minute, why are you accepting so many students if only potentially like 30 or 40 or 50% of the people are actually graduating? You have to kind of show the whole picture a little bit. And people are going to say, like, well, coding schools are going to say, well, it's not our fault that they can't graduate. It's like, maybe it is your fault. Maybe it's your fault that you accepted too many students. Maybe it's your fault that you accepted people that aren't qualified to attend your coding bootcamp. Not everybody can be a software developer, right? Maybe you need to do a better job of vetting out your students or your potential students and not just treat them as dollar signs. Like, be honest with them, right? If you can't survive it, then I don't know. Like, there's a part of me that's like, yeah, you want to take a chance on them, but as a school, I feel like you do need to have some type of responsibility to not just accept anybody, right? And I don't know what their student acceptance rate is and all of that stuff, but even colleges, they have SATs, they have standardized testing. You can't, not everybody can get into Stanford, not everybody can go to Harvard, but if everyone can just attend a coding bootcamp school as long as you're able to afford it, then that is a red flag in my opinion. Like, you need people that are actually motivated and want to actually change their lives to get into this space. But I don't know, it just doesn't make it also doesn't make it a good learning environment to be in if potentially half of the people are really invested in this and the other half is just curious, and somehow they're all joined in together to potentially become software developers. It's like, I don't know. For me, I felt that with my coding boot camp, a lot of the people that I attended with were equally as motivated as I was to change our lives. There were a few people that were kind of like that were still college students, and they were like, "Oh, I'm so surprised that no one's watching March Madness while we're in school." And everybody looked at that guy and was like, "Dude, what are you talking about? Who cares about March Madness? We're trying to get a job right now. No one cares about watching sports while we're trying to learn how to code right now." So it just shows you sometimes the priorities are so different amongst each student. And I think some schools need to do a better job of who they want to bring in. If you can survive the gauntlet, you can get a job. It's the surviving the gauntlet metric to be wary of. 100%. 100%. And it's not easy. It's not, it's definitely not going to be easy, but the way it comes off on websites, and let me just land the school. Do they have a percentage of whatever? 100. Ugh, can't find it. Coding Dojo. Let's see. Outcomes. download. See, like 89.1% acceptance rate. Oh, wait, what is this? 89.1% of 2019 graduates found the relevant job within 180 days of graduation. 95.3% of 2019 found a job within 1 year of graduation. So when I read this, this makes it sound like 95% of the class were able to find a job, right? Like, I know it says graduates. But it sounds to me that 95% of the graduates that attended, it comes off like, oh, 95% of the people that attended in 2019 found a job, not necessarily saying 95% of the graduates found a job. And if you like download the outcomes report, and I don't have it here, but you could see that a good chunk and good percentage of people actually didn't make it to graduation. And for some reason, they don't include the numbers of the people that didn't make it. And I don't know if that's right or wrong. To me, I feel like that's wrong. Like, you have to at least show that number of people that didn't make it, but it's not a good look to have it on your landing page, right? So it's going to be buried deep into this outcomes report here. You have to download it. You have to do your research, and you're going to have to kind of go through the weeds and figure it all out, right? But don't trust a number at face value like this, because this is just doesn't make sense to me, right? That's just me. That's all I'm saying. So the fact that, yeah, even this whole concept of getting your money back, I heard it's very, very difficult. Like, I think someone posted something here about how difficult it was. La 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 la. Where is it? I think you had to apply to like 90 jobs or something. I don't know where it is. Is it in the FAQ? Outcomes report, maybe? Let's see. Methodology. No, there's something in here where basically to get your money back from Lambda School or Bloom Institute of Technology, you have to apply to a crap ton of jobs per week. You have to connect and talk to like 2 or 3 developers per week for 3 months or 6 months or something. And even if you miss like 1 or 2 per week, you didn't satisfy the quota of basically being eligible to get your money back. And then you're going to be required to suddenly like not be eligible for the the money back guarantee or whatever. And like, some people that I've talked to that attended coding boot camps, they just said screw the money back guarantee, because at the end of the day, like, this is actually preventing me from getting a job, because these requirements are just way too crazy. So it's a really tough one, and I don't know what the expectation should be for these coding boot camps, but I feel like the bar has definitely been lowered in terms of just what they're selling to their students or prospective students. I feel like they need to be a little bit more transparent about the placement rates, the graduation rates, and all of that information. Sorry, I kind of went off on a tangent here. I went from 0 to building projects, but I'm way behind some of the actual devs in my cohort, people building their own games, etc. Yeah, I mean, people are going to go at their pace and go with whatever is kind of comfortable for them. And that's okay. People are going to go at their own pace, and I think that's fine. But you're surviving the gauntlet, and that's the important thing. You may not get there. You might not get out of it as fast as some other people, but as long as you're able to kind of just grind through it and eventually build a project that's worthwhile and presentable, then we'll definitely get there. I'll be completely honest. I'm current at Lambda and Bloom. I'm sorry, dude. I didn't mean to trash on the school that you're attending, and I understand what you all are saying. I wish I would have known beforehand, but now I just have to make. Yeah, man. You know what? I will say this one thing. sometimes ignorance is bliss. Like when I attended my coding bootcamp school, and it was Flatiron School, I didn't know jack. All I knew was people telling me it's a pretty good school. And in my head, I said, "Oh, look, if I paid this company or this school $12,000 to $15,000, I should be able to get a job, right? Because for some reason, people are able to do it." And that's all it took for me to sign up. And if I was in your shoes or if I was in Dana's shoes right now in 2021, reading all of these negative press and negative news or negative feedback from all of these other previous attendees, then I don't know if I would want to attend the coding bootcamp either. But I think at the end of the day, it's really up to you to put in the work. And maybe they might not be giving you the best resources here and there, but you just got to keep trying. I know sometimes coding boot camps aren't for everyone, but if you can make the most out of it, then I think that's going to really just get you ahead of all the other people in your cohort. It is unfortunate because I do think the quality did go down from what it was back in 2016, but they must be doing something right in a sense that there are graduates, there are people getting jobs out of a boot camp. And if you are one of those lucky individuals, then you're going to be able to succeed for sure, right? I just don't like the idea that kind of these coding boot camps give off this perception of this guarantee that attending a coding boot camp will get you a job and get you a job within 3 months or 6 months or a year like that. No hard feelings at all. I love the space with all the different kind of ideas. Yeah, man. And the thing is, you got to figure out what's best for you, right? Some people like the self study route was not for me. I just knew I just couldn't do it because I didn't have structure. And regardless of what bootcamp it is, they still at the end of the day have to give you some kind of structure, some kind of information to work off of. And maybe they might not be as attentive to you when as they would have been maybe when they had those teachers assistants and all that stuff, but you got to make the most of it. Find like a little cohort within your sorry find a little section within your cohort that you could work together with and keep each other accountable. You got to make the best of what you have, and it's very easy to complain or just look at it from the sidelines like I am and trashing it and all of that stuff. But I want to rewind a little bit and say that you could still make the best out of it and try to leverage whatever resources you have to um, get you to that next level. So I do agree with you the sense that I don't know what impact it can have on your resume by having Lambda or Bloom Institute of Technology because of I know some people are gonna like look at that, but I don't think you should punish a student necessarily. You should punish the executives or the people running the school. But if the student is actually taking the time and learning, then they shouldn't be punished for it. So that's my personal opinion. And if I saw a resume that said Lambda School, Bloom Institute of Technology, I would still be pretty biased towards hiring because I came from a boot camp as well, even if I don't believe what the executives at Lambda School is doing is correct, right? I try to look at it from a perspective of is this person capable and this person has taken the risk to attend the coding bootcamp school to change their life. And I like to look at it from that perspective, not necessarily the whole like drama associated with it. Is it even a good idea? The fear. Yeah. Okay. Sorry. I hopefully I answered your question with this one. I still think you should put it because at the end of the day, it does still have name value and people will recognize it. Some people wait, what is that saying? Like any press is good press kind of thing. It might apply here a little bit. And either I still think it has enough clout and recognition where people will say, okay, this person took the time to invest in themselves to learn how to code and they put a lot of time and effort into it. So yeah, I think you should I still think you should put it up. Oh no. Yeah, everyone watch Jeremiah's video on Coding Dojo tomorrow. Look, I want to emphasize this again. It's not about the teaching or it's not about the courses and how they teach that I kind of have a gripe with. It's more about the marketing. And I don't really enjoy seeing this type of potentially deceptive marketing. You know what I mean? A lot of people they look at things at face value, like oh 90%, oh 80%. I've seen other coding dojo videos with other content creators, and I think you know what, the videos are really good, and I kind of like how they teach. So the teaching has never really been an issue with coding dojo for me, or just any school. It's just more about the outcomes report, and no school is really doing anything unique about it. Every school is doing the same thing. So I can't say like this one school is the worst school. Like every school is kind of operating in that same metric. And is that right? Is that wrong? I don't know. But as a student, at least you need to do the research and just kind of make that decision. Like I understand that the graduation rate is very hard, but I know that if I put in the effort and I know that I'm going to put in a lot of hours, sacrifice my weekends, stay late up at night to work on this kind of stuff to become a better developer, I'm going to be part of that graduation crew and not the ones that don't. So no one's going to handhold your no one's going to really like hold your hand the whole way through coding bootcamp. You need to kind of take more responsibility of your own actions and commit to this, right? Because the coding bootcamp is just a guide for you to kind of stay on track. But if you get lazy, say you don't want to work or whatever, yeah, that you could rest a day or two, but they call it a bootcamp for a reason. It's because you're gonna feel so overwhelmed with all this information. And you got to keep trucking through it. And it's not about this like Gary V. You got to grind and wake up at 5 a.m. and blah, blah, blah for the rest of your life. It's just a short period that you're going to have to struggle. And hopefully you could get to the end of that tunnel and then get that first job after 2 or 3 months of after 2 or 3 months from graduating. So it's not going to be easy. Coding bootcamp is a great way to just stay on the path, but don't treat it like it's some golden ticket that all you have to do is just sit there and attend and that's it. I think boot camps can help steer you in the right direction with the network and support. Once becoming a dev, you're expected to be pretty independent. Yeah, exactly. And that's kind of what I was talking about was that the coding boot camps, they're an option because they help you stay on the right path. And especially if you do like a full-time coding boot camp like I didn't do anything else except eat, breathe, sleep, and code. And that sounds so like cringy to say, but that is literally all I did for 3 months. And luckily or unluckily, I had no friends when I moved to New York City purposely because I didn't want to get FOMO from all my friends hanging out during the weekends in California. So I did the next best thing and just moved to New York where I knew no one. And then all I did was just code Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And then just keep repeating that over and over and over and over and over and over again for 3 months. And then after I graduated, did more coding like that for the next 2 months. And that's all I did. That's literally all I did for like 5, 6 months. And maybe once in a while I went out and like went to the bars with my friends and all that stuff. But more often than not, I was just coding nonstop. And it was actually kind of good for me because I attended a coding boot camp in New York City when it was cold and snowing. So there was real no reason to go out anyways. And it was just perfect to just like stay in and chill out. What did I miss? Oh shoot. Hi, Joshelle. How are you doing? I think I actually responded to what you said without realizing who wrote it. I appreciate that. Um, I did way better attending a boot camp than I would have on my own out in the wilderness. Exactly. Same here. Same here. And that's the decision that I made. And I'm very, very happy with it because here I am now. And I saved so much time because some people spend years and years doing the free route and they still don't have a job. And sometimes having that accelerated pace to becoming a software developer can be very, very optimal, right? Some people they succeed out in the end. Some people attend the coding bootcamp and they don't have a job until like a year or two later. It really is the luck of the draw, unfortunately. And but yeah, I agree with you. Oh shoot, $5. Thank you, Andrew. You're one of the most genuine people in the industry. I'm just making sure that you know how. Thank you. Thank you, Andrew. I really appreciate that and super kind words. I don't know how to respond to this because I'm not used to. I don't know if people are ever used to compliments like this, but I try to be as genuine as I can with my YouTube channel, with my Twitter Spaces, and now a little bit of TikTok. I don't know. It's really hard because I know how people are getting popular and I really, really try hard to fight against it. But sometimes it sucks because I feel like even with your Twitter account and Shashi's Twitter account, if you don't know who I'm talking about, just search Andrew Lancaster on Twitter and give him a follow, everyone. And maybe in the future we could actually do like an interview together on my YouTube channel. But just because someone is popular doesn't mean that they always have the best advice. And sometimes people see the 20K or the 50K or the 100K subscribers and think like, okay, this person is an authority and this person knows exactly what he's talking about. But I would say that the best people that I got advice from, or the best people I hear giving out really, really good advice, like Andrew, they have under 1,000 followers on YouTube, or sorry, on Twitter, or maybe they're like in the 2,000, 3,000 range. But those are the people that actually have experience in the industry and know what they're talking about, know what they're looking for. But sometimes, like there's this one, I'm not even going to name who it is on Twitter, but there's this person that all they do is say like the dumbest things just to get a bunch of likes. And I think they hit like a 20,000 followers on Twitter. And it just really makes me kind of cringe a little bit that that is what is getting popularity, even though that person has no idea what they're talking about. And they're really giving out advice that's saying, like, oh, you can make $300,000 by doing Web3 or $400,000 becoming a Solidity developer. It's like all of the advice that you're giving is very like pretty nonsensical, to be honest. And no one's gonna pay a developer like 300K, especially a junior developer, 300K to do smart contract development. Like, I don't think anybody's going to even trust a junior developer with their money to build Solidity contracts, right? So it's just crazy how Twitter and YouTube and all of this social media stuff works, because I feel that the best advice that I always get are from people that have a relatively small following. But Andrew, thank you for the compliment. Thank you for the super chat. And you know what? I responded to your compliment with a compliment to you, because what you and Shashi are doing are pretty awesome. Doing those front end spaces as well is pretty cool. And then Shashi doing those portfolio reviews on Friday is um, it's pretty good, man. Like I don't know how he has the time to do it. It's not easy to review 20 to 30 portfolios, but what he does is really impressive. Dorian, I'll see you later, buddy. We'll have to do that interview soon, though. I will say that one can make it with Bloom, but you have to be hungry and have the passion for a while, ignoring all the other noises. Must have the passion in order to break through with anything you want to do. Yeah, man, that is 100% true. And, I try to stay quiet about these kind of things because I don't want to bash people when they're attending the schools. I'm just kind of trying to add my perspective from outside looking in. But at the end of the day, you've already made this decision and you are in the school. There's no point in looking back now. Take advantage of the situation that you're in. I'm sure there are a lot of great people in your cohort and you're learning a lot and you're building out projects. So, you know what? Like this boot camp, it has its problems, but at the same time, learning how to code, as much as it is collaborative, in some regards, it is kind of like an individual sport. You kind of have to put in the work, put in the practice. It's kind of like basketball, right? Like basketball is a team sport, but there are a lot of individual responsibilities here. So you have to just practice your free throws, practice your layups, practice your three pointers. And I guess if I had to put that in code, like practice how to write functions, practice how to use vanilla JavaScript to capture specific parts of the DOM, like learn how to use React, learn how to connect all of those things, right? um, all of these things are going to be like super situational, and as a developer you got to just learn how to adapt to different situations. So you are in where you are, and I still think you're probably in a better position than a lot of newer people that are just learning how to code or just trying to learn on their own doing a free route, because you at least have some type of guidance. So I still feel it's past an hour. I cannot survive on these kinds of streams after an hour, but you are still in the right path. So I would just keep working at it, and I think you'll be fine. Holy crap, this stream has been going on for an hour and 45. No wonder I'm having a hard time talking now. You can make 300K with one Udemy course? I don't think so. You have to be a relatively popular Udemy creator. What's 300,000 divided by 5? So you have to sell your course 60,000 times if you sell it at $5, maybe 30,000 times if you sell it at $10. It's cra- it's crazy to sell that many courses, in my opinion, unless you already have a big following. Boy, I am tired. What's everyone up to today? Are you guys all just chilling at home on a Friday like I am? You guys should be going out and having fun, hanging out, enjoying your except except some of our bootcamp students. You guys got to keep working. I'm kidding. But yeah, Shashi is a maniac. He really is. But I'm so glad to have met such good people on Twitter. And I love YouTube too, because I feel like I've met a lot of great developers there. TikTok is kind of an area that I'm starting to discover more developers. This community is vast and large, and a lot of people with a lot of great advice, a lot of people with a lot of bad advice. It's so hard to filter out the noise, even as someone with experience. And I try to keep my mouth relatively shut about it, but you got to be careful about who you take advice from. Experience really does matter, and genuine personalities, genuine care for um, your actual growth is really important here. Because some people, I would say Twitter is probably the worst, in a sense that people come off as caring, but if in reality all they want is clout. They want to see that number grow from 2,000 to 5,000 to 10,000 to 20,000 subscribers or followers. They want to have that sense of authority to know, to feel like they, whatever they say is gold. And for me, I've always been that personality where I code with the beginner's mindset. So no matter who I work with, I always feel like they can provide me with some knowledge or something that I might not know about. And the reason why I code with a beginner's mindset is because I don't know everything either, right? I'm getting crushed at work sometimes. And that's because it's just a reminder that you can never be too overly confident or have some kind of ego when being a software developer, because there's just so many more smarter people that when you deal with people that don't know as much as you, like who are you to kind of treat them like they don't know anything, right? You've been in that situation before. I've been in that situation before. So more often than not, when I talk with people that are kind of more junior than I am, I never try to like put them down. And I never try to come in with this ego that I am like a huge authority. But I'm noticing on Twitter where I don't know about the ego part, but they're definitely cloud chasing. And it's really unfortunate, because you could totally, as you get more experience, you could totally tell and decipher who are genuine and who are just like chasing likes. So it is what it is. Well, you're watching me, so I guess I'm a little genuine. Chilling at home on a Friday. Yes, that is a good call. Has anybody else noticed that tech is in every Twitter space? That I'm in every Twitter space? You know what's weird? I'm actually in a lot of Twitter spaces, but I don't participate in the conversation. I listen more often than not because I'm actually working. I don't know how people work when they code, but I like having some kind of background noise. And sometimes music just doesn't do it enough for me. So I like having um, some kind of white noise, like people talking. That's why I like working at a coffee. At a cafe if I can, because I really enjoy just like people hearing while learning how to code or writing code. I mean, and that's just kind of I know some people enjoy having silence or listening to like lo-fi, but I actually really do enjoy having some kind of background noise of people talking while I code. Maybe I'm just a little crazy that way. Yes, good food is a good reason to go out, and that's the benefit of living in New York because New York never sleeps. So there's a lot of good food there. Finished General Assembly today, did the 12-week full-time remote. I'm in the West Coast by the East Coast cohort from 6 a.m. to 2 p.m. in order to have time for homework. That's crazy. Congrats, though. That is crazy. I don't know how you did that, but that's pretty impressive. Was there a West Coast General Assembly, or did you just purposely pick East Coast because you wanted to do the 6 a.m. to 2 p.m.? That's so interesting. Code with the beginner's mindset. I like that. Thank you. Someone actually taught me that philosophy, and I just kind of stole it. But I really live and my life like that. Sorry, I'm just so tired. I can't even speak. But I truly live my life with a code with a beginner's mindset because it's so important here. And I've kind of felt trapped into being more of an egotistical software developer when I first got in this space because I had a really bad mentor. He was very, very smart, but very, very egotistical and just kind of put you down whenever you didn't know how to code well. And I kind of saw firsthand, wow, knowledge is power. And if you're really knowledgeable, you could get away with a lot of things because you produce really, really good stuff. But the reality is that that person never stayed at a company longer than 2 years. And that's because he was a pain in the butt to work with. Imagine a person that would always put you down, but wrote good code, so he got away with it. But eventually, if you stay at a company too long and you have that kind of ego, then no one's going to want to work with you. No one's going to want to do your code reviews. No one's going to want to build a project with you. People are going to come in to a project with you ready to kind of be contentious, ready to fight because they know what type of attitude you have. And I didn't know better and I followed that kind of mindset. But eventually I learned that that's not a great way to approach your way of like working with the team and all of that stuff. And yeah, it just makes it so much easier when you are a nice person versus trying to be this person that's like, I'm saving this company, I know everything and you don't. That switch and being more of a like a servant leadership is so important here because your responsibility as an experienced developer once you get to that 3-5 years mark or 10 years mark for people like Andrew is that the ego really goes out of the door at that point because you know what are you really gaining by telling this junior developer that they don't know anything, right? You're supposed to try to like help and foster them grow, right? Not necessarily put them down. So I just was really unfortunate that I got this kind of crazy mentor for my first job. But after that, that's when I learned the hard way. And I learned myself that, hey, treat people with some respect and they will always kind of give you that benefit of the doubt whenever you're struggling. And you just never know. What if the person that you're helping eventually becomes smarter than you and you're asking him for help or her for help? do you think they will want to help you after what you did to them? Probably not, right? So you just never know what a good like experience can have on a developer that's kind of just getting into that space. And that's why it's so important for me to always want to kind of foster that growth when I'm working with developers that may not have as much experience as I do. White belt mentality, yes, sir. You always seem to be listening to space. I love it. That's another big thing that I'm a huge advocate for is that everyone should shut up and just listen. They're always the same people that talk, 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 but they never listen. It's crazy. Like the only time they listen is hearing themselves speak. And it's just crazy because they don't even care about what other people are saying. They just want to take the attention from the room, right? And it is what it is, and if anything, the reason why I'm listening is because I try to filter out those type of people that are just constantly talking all the time, and the few times that maybe Andrew is talking or Shashi's talking or, like, Coding Phase is talking, those are the times where I, like, actively listen. I actively listen to certain people because I feel like they have certain type of advices that I'm not thinking about, and something I can incorporate into my YouTube videos or incorporate into my one-on-ones with my clients because they bring in a different perspective that I don't think about, and I'm like, oh my goodness, like that is such good advice. I generally try to drown out the noise of people that just are constantly talking all the time because I don't need to hear about the same thing over and over and over again, or just how you believe that this tech is better than that tech. I want to know information about how do I help developers land their first job in tech, and those types of advices are generally what I'm actively looking for. And if I'm the one speaking, that means that I'm not really learning anything because I'm the one that's giving the advice. And there are times where I do speak, but generally I try to be an active listener whenever I can because you just never know what type of advice that people are going to share, and you're going to be like, oh, I'm going to take that one and I'm going to use that to share that with my followers and subscribers. And the perfect example is that virtual coffee chat, right? And I got it from shoot, I forgot his name. I think it was Tony. Tony said that he was able to get so many virtual coffee chats because rather than just sending a generic message of, hey, I would love to hear about your story, blah, 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 blah. What he did was he sent that person a Starbucks gift card of like $5, $6, or something like that. And the fact that he was able to send something tangible and saying like, "Hey, I know your time is expensive, but how would you like to have a coffee chat? And I'll give you the $5 or $6 to buy that coffee. And if you can give me 30 minutes of your time, I would greatly appreciate it." That's showing some type of appreciation and value of having that conversation, right? You're showing that, hey, you are important enough that I want to pay for your coffee. But if someone just sends a generic message just saying like, "Hey, like, can we chat?" I'll be like, "Hey, I'm sorry, I just don't have time." Because it just shows like it's a very low commitment, right? And I don't want to waste my time either. So you got to do something unique. And that's something that I'm so glad I got that information from someone because it's so simple, but yet so effective. And even if they don't respond, whatever, it was just $5, right? So it's something small, but it could have such a big impact for sure. Someday I'll tell you what my coding soundtrack is. You'll never guess in a million. Maybe. Can I lie on my resume to get the job? I wouldn't recommend it. What if they ask you about it and then you can't really talk about it because you lied, right? I worked with someone like that, but he was with the company 15 plus. I don't know how he did it then. That's pretty impressive. I'm pretty sure a lot of people under him quit. So it is what it is. Oh, but I was told that he will never get a leadership position because he teed off everyone constantly. We never talked about that side of development. No, that's so true too. It's like those people will stay stuck at a certain position because who would want to work with someone like that as a leadership, right? Like imagine your one-on-ones. It's like, oh man, it would just be horrible just getting crushed every week, having to talk with someone that's just treating you like you're nothing. Ugh, can't imagine. Employ empathy in everything you do. People are not machines. Exactly. Exactly. And I would say my career has gotten so much better after I started becoming more empathetic. And it's not even like a fake empathy or anything like that. There are moments where I do get frustrated, but I still hold it in because you just never know um, what type of situation you're going to be in. And there are times, like I said, there are times where I do get frustrated, but I don't show it because at the end of the day, we are in a professional environment and no one should ever be yelled at. No one should ever be treated a, like not a human being, right? Just because they may not understand this part of the code. But there are certain things that I highly recommend as like a junior developer to do when you're asking questions just to help out the senior developer a little bit is to when you're asking a question, don't just say that I don't know how to do this or don't just say that I'm not sure what's going on. Try to give some context of what you've tried to do and then explain why you think it's not working. That way, at least the senior developer can kind of give you some kind of suggestions based on the context of the question that you asked, right? Because so often than not, I just see like so many newer developers saying like, I don't know what's going on, and then I have to basically kind of like lead them into asking me the questions like, okay, so what have you done? Okay, why do you think this isn't working? And then we start to decipher and figure out what it is that's actually the problem. And sometimes them deciphering what the issue is and what they've done and why they think it's going wrong, they suddenly realize, oh, wait, maybe I do know the answer. So sometimes I feel like a lot of times newer developers they panic, but rather than panicking, I think it's good to always just ask yourself, I've done this. I don't think it's working because of this. So I tried doing this other way and it's still not working. So is there something that I'm missing that you might notice that can help me out here? So super important how you phrase the question. And more often than not, even when I have questions, I frame it that way. And it helps the person that I'm talking to get more context, but it doesn't feel like I'm just constantly berating them with a bunch of questions. So it's super important. Context is everything. And it's really nice to have that kind of like back and forth conversation rather than having it be so one-sided. Coding phase is hilarious. Yeah, I mean he and I could be the most opposite people at sometimes, but I would say that he and I are very very similar in some other ways. So I really treat him like like closely as one of my brothers and one of my friends because he's someone that I just have some good conversations with offline and we bounce off ideas. He's very, very legit, and I'm very impressed with what he's doing because doing your own thing, I'm learning it the hard way, is super, super, super hard. And marketing, advertising, that guy's one smart dude. And he not just coding. I made a video about him that's saying that he's not a software developer because that guy does so much more other stuff outside of coding through research and marketing and all of that stuff. It's insane. I don't know how he does it, but he's definitely more of like a business software engineer than just a true software engineer for sure. What time is it? 8:35. Okay, so I think I'm gonna do 10 more minutes, 8:45. I think that'll be a good way to close it out. So any last minute questions, we can answer them and we'll enjoy the rest of our Friday night. Probably just gonna watch Netflix. And I am actually watching this show called Hellbound. And it's pretty scary, but it's actually pretty good here. So, um, I don't know. I'm hooked, but at the same time, it is a little gruesome. Yeah, it's an interesting show. I kind of like it though. I felt like a machine at one of my coding jobs, and that led to burnout. Yeah, it's I I really think even having a agile style of working and building projects is super important because I know some companies they do like Kanban, and Kanban is great and all, but for smaller teams, I think, but Kanban really does feel like this: take a ticket, move the ticket, take a ticket, move the ticket. There's no real reward in my opinion when you're doing Kanban style. But with agile, at least you have a goal that you want to accomplish within a week and a half or whatever. And if you're able to accomplish that goal, then it's like, okay, my sprint was successful this time, or my sprint was unsuccessful this time. But Kanban is just one of those things where it's like, all right, I just did 5 tickets. Cool. Yes, I nailed it. It was a Kanban. I don't know how I knew that, but I called it right there. Of course, it was Kanban. No wonder, because there's no end. The tickets never stop, right? They're just gonna keep adding more tickets, and they probably don't even like consult with you why they're making this ticket. Just do it because it's on the board. Oh man, that's awesome. I don't know how I knew that, but I felt it in my bones. Oh, I really appreciate that. Hopefully, hopefully people at my current job don't see this and be like, "Wait, you don't act like this. You don't act like this in real life." I swear I do. Who knows? But man, this is I had to learn this the hard way. I'm not gonna lie. Like I went through some ups and downs in my own coding journey, but now that I'm kind of in that 3 to 5 years experience, I think I've definitely chilled out and just trying to enjoy life a little bit more, trying to enjoy coding more, just enjoy the people I'm working with more, and just really just appreciating the life of a developer. And at the same time, kind of doing this quote unquote side hustle or personal brand of Tech Rally. This is super cool. I never really expected anything with this. If you ever watched my first couple of videos of my YouTube channel, all I did was do coding tutorials because never in my life did I imagine myself doing a live stream on YouTube, let alone doing a live stream on YouTube for 2 hours and just talking like this. It's just crazy to think about how my progression of being more open and being more talkative in front of a camera and meeting so many cool people. It's just crazy that I'm able to do something like this. I would have never imagined it. So super appreciative of you guys that are just watching me for the past 2 hours. I'm pretty impressed. Really appreciate y'all. The best mentors want you to be better than them. That is 100% true. 100% true. It's crazy to me because I think some companies they do like peer reviews, and I don't know. Some people they have this vendetta to feel like they have to be the best, and the only way they could be the best is by trashing other people. And I don't really understand that. Like, your success does not rely on other people's downfall, right? And it's crazy because one person that I worked with at Amazon, he actually left to a better not a better company, but he just left for, I guess, a better role. And he asked, "Hey, can you write me like a recommendation so I could get for my promotion from L to L5?" And I said, "Of course." And he actually did a lot of work and he put in a lot of hours. And I try to give my honest opinion about it. And in truth, like I wrote it in a way where I try to show how much work he had done. And he really helped me out, even though he was an L4 and I was an L5. Granted, I was new to Amazon and he had about 6 months experience at Amazon. So he knew about the internal tools a little bit better. But at the end of the day, like when you mentor junior developers or developers with less experience than you, I feel like the best mentors are the ones that don't care if you end up being better than them because that means you're doing a really good job as a mentor. The fact that they're taking what you've taught them and kind of thriving in that situation and being a better developer. And who can if they end up becoming a better developer and making more money than you, maybe that's on you too, right? Like maybe you're not doing a good enough job of being a better developer afterwards too. So it's like more accountability to yourself as well, saying that, hey, I've done a great job of mentoring these developers, and maybe I need to do a better job myself of being a better developer. Or maybe you might be in a more of a position that you want to be a manager and help other engineers thrive and become better developers. It really is up to you to decide how you want to kind of navigate your career. But I've always never, I never mentored anyone with the fear of like, oh my God, this guy is going to pass me or this girl is going to pass me as a developer. If they end up becoming better developers, good for them. Good for them. And I'm sure a lot of people I've mentored have become better developers than me, especially in the back end. Those ones that focus more on the back end with like microservices and Golang and all of the buzzwords, Redis, Kubernetes and all that stuff. Like I don't know a lot about that kind of stuff, but I know a lot of people I mentored earlier in their development career that went into more the back end side. They're way better than me in that area and aspect, and that's perfectly fine because that's stuff that I'm not as focused on, but areas where they're thriving and probably getting paid really, really well. And I'm so happy for them because at the end, we all just want to get paid, right? So this is super important. Let's see. Last ones. How do you improve your learning efficiency, learning faster, problem solving, debugging, etc.? Learning efficiency. I don't think it's about speed. It's about the process, right? So many people, and this is the problem with tutorials, right? So many people watch tutorials and feel like I need to understand everything in 1 hour or less. And that is how you become a software developer. But those 1 hour tutorials are like filtered down, catered, adjusted to make sure everything fits within an hour to build this project. But no project is ever really built truly in an hour. You have to put some thinking into it. Like, how do you want your models and your relationships to work out? How do you want your front end to be structured? How do you want your CSS to be structured? How do you want your design to be structured? All of these things take actual upfront time for you to think about before building something out. So, more often than not, like you have to think about the whole process and not think about speed, but just more about, am I covering all of my bases to build out this project? In terms of actual like coding itself, what you need to do is, I like to think about entry points. Like if I don't understand this problem, then I start console logging everything in JavaScript at least. I start writing my logs in between certain function calls, and I try to figure out like this is calling this function and this function is calling these two other functions, and where is it actually breaking. And how you can identify that is through console logs or actually just reading the errors, because an error will give you a line number of where the error is occurring, and then you could just kind of follow that stack trace. So a lot of new developers, what they have a hard time doing is they have a hard time reading the errors. They have a hard time just saying like, this is where the error happened, and this error was caused by this line, and this line of error was caused by this other line. So it's literally called a stack trace, right? For a reason, because each line is calling that other line, and that line is calling that other line, and eventually you hit the error of where it actually happened. So read the errors and adjust accordingly. So that's my recommendation on how to be a little bit more efficient and stop just hoping that everything can be solved in 30 minutes or less or 1 hour or less, because that's just really not the case. There are times where I've had a bug and it costs me maybe like 2 days of work. And that's fine because I had to literally just navigate through a sea of code. And I knew like this was such a crazy code base. And it was just like this calling this, and event listeners were calling this other event listeners. And I was like, oh my God, I'm going to go crazy here. But it's part of the process of trying to figure out what is going on. And maybe someone can argue it's poorly written code. I didn't write it. So I guess I might have said that. Who knows? Internally, it is what it is. But you still got to figure out like these entry points and where things are happening, and that's how you kind of um, build as a software developer. Hellbound is crazy. I can't wait for season 2. Yeah, man, I'm only on episode 2, so I'm really interested on what's gonna happen. But I think people were trying to like claim that Hellbound was like equally as good as Squid Game, but from what I can tell, I think Squid Game still has significantly more popularity. And yeah, it was just so gruesome. Even on the first episode, I was like, "What is going on?" So I'm gonna watch that tonight because I'm getting really tired. Do you know if any of your fellow classmates that you went to school with are still in the field? I heard many people in the engineering fields are moving to software and tech. Are you talking about my school as in boot camp or my college? I'd be curious with that one. All right, I know I said 8:45, but I'll give it 15 more minutes and then I'll close out. And you know what? We'll have like a little cool wind down session here um, by adding some lo-fi music because you know what? That's how we end it. So I'm gonna do this, then that, and boom, boom, coolios. And then I'll do that. So let me know if the sound is too strong on the music side, then I'll lower it. Otherwise, this is how we're gonna end the last 15 minutes. Do you use OBS for streaming? Just curious. I use StreamYard. And the only reason why I use StreamYard is because I get to have this really nifty feature of displaying, hiding, displaying, hiding. One thing I don't like is that I have to add the YouTube music as a separate tab. So I can't share like web browser content and play lo-fi music at the same time. So it's kind of limited in that sense. But I think if I move over to Twitch, I'm going to start using OBS. I actually have a Streamlab OBS account, but my Apple MacBook Pro can't handle it. So that's why I bought the computer. So yeah, it's connected to my computer at the moment. That's the fear I have, not being able to pick up new tech that's needed in a timely manner. That just takes time, dude. And if your company is very just more mindful of junior developers, then it shouldn't be a problem because at least within Amazon, I feel like we give a lot of our new developers that are just like entry a lot of time to just get themselves acquainted because it's not easy. I truly believe experience does matter. And when you're an entry level, there's a little bit more flexibility about just getting you up to speed and making sure that, you know, it doesn't feel too overwhelming. And I really like that. My first coding job gave me 6 months. Yeah, exactly. And for me, when I joined Amazon and when I even joined my last startup, I worked basically maybe like a week or two after starting. And that's because I had quote unquote experience. And that is unfortunate, but it is what it is. And when I actually started doing more AWS stuff, I didn't know anything about AWS. And I had a lot of time to maybe like 3-4 months to really get acquainted myself with it. I was actually building and learning at the same time, which is kind of hard to do. But luckily, I didn't have that pressure of this being like a time-sensitive project that I need to get done. So definitely kind of outside of my job description because I am a front-end developer, but I'm definitely not going to complain about knowing how to use AWS. And if anything, it's just going to make me a better developer. So I got kind of lucky with it. And they gave me easy tickets like editing stuff in a what you see is what you get. Yep, exactly. That's kind of just a transition of how you go from just starting off really small and then tackling on something a little bit bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And then eventually you're going to start building out your own projects. Update footer link. No, you know what? That sounds so simple in the beginning, like now that you have more experience, but at the time, I'm sure it felt so daunting. And if anything, it probably felt so exhilarating, like separating that branch, pushing it up to GitHub, putting in that pull request and getting those approvals, all of that stuff, you know, the first time, that first experience, it feels so good because you're actually committing code and having it reviewed and actually putting it in the main branch, that is like one of the best feelings in the world. And that small sign of confidence is really what is kind of propelling you to that next step in your career, right? And I remember my first pull request and all of that stuff, and it was just a really good feeling. So it may be small, but these small wins are so important in your software developer journey. What do I love about front end development? Um, I just like the immediate feedback. I really love the immediate feedback with front end development because I can make code changes, press that refresh button, and just kind of see the changes right away. And I really enjoy, crazy enough, writing CSS. Not necessarily pixel art or anything like that, but I just love just moving stuff around. And I feel like I'm in Minority Report where you just wave your hands and you could just move these boxes from right to left, to bottom to right, and all of that stuff. But I could do that with code. And being able to just freely do that without, I don't want to say without struggle, but doing that because I've had the experience to do it relatively freely is something that I really enjoy, and just building beautiful products, whether it's responsive, mobile friendly, and all of that. Some people just really hate CSS. That's why they prefer backend stuff. But I actually enjoy doing a lot of front end development. And yeah, there are a lot of things about front end development outside of just pure UI too. And you start thinking about performance, you start thinking about caching, you start thinking about CDNs. All of these weird things that I never thought about outside of just pure UI is also kind of fun because you start getting into the weeds of things of why is this app faster than this app? Like, oh, why does it take longer to load this app over this app? What is SPA versus server-side rendering? This is all still part of front end that maybe a lot of newer developers don't know about. And I don't think you need to really know too much about that until you get a little bit more experience. But front end has gotten so complicated that it's not just like HTML and CSS. You do so many other cool things now that it's really powerful. And that's what I love about front end. People hate CSS because they don't know it very well. Yeah, I think so too. Hot take right there. People know how to use CSS, but they don't know how to use CSS well. And I like to call it like scalable CSS. I know so many backend developers that were asked to do some type of front end, and they're like moving the pixel one pixel at a time. And they're like, okay, cool. Like I'll float this and add some random margin, -15 pixels down or to the left, and then negative 150 pixels downward, and it's there. It's perfect. And I'm like, oh my gosh, what are you doing? And like they start overriding all their CSS and all of that stuff. And their solution to the overriding problem was to write CSS and JS. And it's like, oh, we'll just hash all of our class names. That way we won't have name conflicts. It's just so funny how technically it's only a problem if you don't use it correctly, right? And then they come up with alternative solutions to get it fixed. I have come around to enjoying CSS and JS because it does have a little it has some nice benefits to it, but I don't really think it's a problem unless you use it incorrectly. And that could work with like even database relationships, right? But you don't really see the effects of bad CSS until it actually just becomes unbearable to maintain. Did you sorry, I didn't see a link. If you have a link, definitely feel free to DM me, and then I will try to share it here. But I didn't see it, so yeah, I have no problems with it, but maybe my Nightbot does. So how do you get better? I swear I watch tutorials and my try my own stuff. You got to keep doing it, man. I think that's the only way to get better. You just got to keep doing. And I actually enjoy watching tutorials because I try to see how people write their code, not necessarily just kind of write like copy their projects, but I actually really care about, oh, like if they make an asynchronous request, how do they structure their code so they can catch errors or they return the data? Like what is their like coding style? And if I like it, I'll use it. If I don't, then I just kind of say, okay, this is interesting, and then I'll just move on. But try not to be so focused on the project that they're building, but more about how they got there. And then you, instead of, maybe the tutorial is like fetching like Pokemons or whatever, right? But in your project, you want to fetch shoes. So you have to be able to kind of interpret what they have and just apply to whatever you need to do. So maybe you're making a shoe store. So like if they show you a strategy of how to fetch a list of Pokemons, just replace that request with your request and then adjust accordingly. So you just take like tidbits of the tutorial and then apply it to your actual projects. Man, I can't wait to do another show. Maybe a planned one where Shashi doesn't force you to be a speaker. That's so funny too, because I always join your guys' spaces because I want to be an active listener. And then he invites me up to speak. And I'm like, oh no, I just did a live stream like 2 hours ago and I'm so tired. I remember that moment. It was so... it was fun to have the conversations, but I definitely was pretty beat after that. No, but I really appreciate him. I mean, you know what? I'm very thankful that he reaches out to, you know, want to share what I want to say. But as you can tell already, after 2 hours, like I can't articulate my sentences as well as the beginning of the stream because live streaming is very hard. Yeah, send me an email and maybe we could kind of talk about it, and based on our conversations, if it's worth having on and you have some good knowledge to share, we can do that. We can also do like a Twitter space as well, because I think that could be maybe a good starter, and then if it's worth it, we'll move on to the live stream. Developing gets easier when you start understanding the big picture rather than only a small piece at a time. I think tutorials are good for supplemental learning. Yeah, exactly. So I'm actually learning Next.js right now by watching tutorials, and the tutorials are using like Next.js and FaunaDB and all that stuff. And I think they're building some like code snippet app. I could care less about the code snippet app. What I really more care about is how is this project structured? How do they make the request? Oh, they use this pages folder, and then they have a separate utility folder for setting up their FaunaDB, and then they have a separate API folder where they actually make the request. So now that I know that information, I'm like thinking in my head, okay, when I build my app, I want to structure it kind of in a similar way, but I don't really care about the code snippet part of the app. All I care about is the code itself and how they like maintain it, right? Trying to find the best practices, trying to find the just little strategies they use here and there to make Next.js more efficient is what's helpful for me. So that's how I like to use tutorials, not necessarily like, oh, cool, I built this app. I don't even care about this app. I just need to see the code and how they did it and like why they did what they do. And that really helps me out a lot. Kyle, find a mentor. I promise you that it will click if you have the right people around you. DM me and we could set up some time. Yo, did I just bring in a connection? This is awesome. Everyone, also, you know what? I'm just gonna give this guy a shout out. Let's go. Follow Andrew on his Twitter. Super underrated Twitter account. He has you know what? I'm gonna stop my screen and share his screen here. Let's do this. Everyone, give this man a follow. I think there's about 17 people here, so we need at least 220 followers by the end of this night. Let's just give him as many followers as we can, because super nice guy, very knowledgeable. He has front end in front of his name, so I think he knows what he's talking about. And definitely give Andrew a follow, because he does host a few spaces with my other friend named Shashi, and he's super knowledgeable as well. Well, I spelled his name wrong. Whoops. Shashi who codes, and they host. So what Shashi does is he does weekly Friday portfolio reviews for free. And if you have a portfolio, maybe you've taken my portfolio course, shameless plug, and you want to get it reviewed, definitely reach out to him because he also will just give you his honest feedback. And he's a UI developer that just has a lot of experience. He's been in this industry for a pretty long time as well. So, actually more than me. And actually, I think Andrew and Shashi have probably similar experiences, both in the front end. So very great resources to utilize if you can, and yeah, give them a follow if you haven't. All right, I think we're getting close to wind down time, everyone. I'm a simple man. You know what? Those are the people that give the best advice. No agenda. Just want to help. That's what's really important here. Yeah, for sure, dude. I mean, hey, you guys always help me out, and I think there's nothing wrong with seeing other people succeed at the end of the day. So, we're all just trying to help out each other. And actually, I think I am subscribed to you as well, Jashelle. But let's confirm. I'll be very sad if I'm not. Yes, I'm subscribed. So, let's see. While we're at it, give her a follow, give her a subscribe too. She's at 559. Let's get her to 560, 562, 563. I don't know, 565. Let's let's get her get more subscriptions for her as well. Cause life of a what do you call it? A small YouTube content creator is so hard, and being able to just get more people and more eyes on your channel is super super hard because I've learned it the hard way. I've never had like a viral video go crazy, or sorry, I never had like a viral video, so I've definitely had to go through this like slow and steady grind. But the fact that man, you made a lot of videos too. So the fact that you're making some good videos here, it's really important here. Um, so everyone, please give her a follow. And Jashelle and Andrew, let's talk on Twitter. Maybe we can do like an interview style on my YouTube channel and kind of just talk about your software developer journey, maybe some tips and tricks and everything on how to get into this industry. And I think that would be helpful for people in my audience. So if you guys are willing to show your face I know, Jashelle, you probably are okay with showing your face on the camera because you have so many videos. But Andrew, I'll reach out to you, and if you want to show that beautiful face of yours, then we could probably do like a interview as well. So, anyways, with that being said, everyone, have a great rest of the night. Get some rest. Like I said, my portfolio course is out there right now, $19.99, but it's going to increase to $24.99. So if you have any friends that are still trying to kind of get started or build that portfolio that haven't, maybe you could kind of recommend them to my course. But otherwise, like, I want to commit to the people that bought early and gave me the feedback. So I want to just kind of do them right by trusting in me and paying earlier than later for the course. So definitely going to increase that price by $5 and then just kind of keep it there for a while. So anyways, I will talk to you all later, and have a good night, everyone. Bye.